Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I'm Nick Driver, and I'm a New Mexican. Today, we're going to be talking about the new public health order that allows churches to operate at 100% capacity. So, well, 3 months ago, there was a Supreme Court hearing about this due to California. Supreme Court ruled that they can't prevent restrictions, and so now New Mexico finally allowed churches to get back to operating at 100%, which in my opinion should have never stopped. I mean, I understand the first 3 months were very scary, but after the 3 months, they should have been allowed to go back to doing what they were doing. So, this one's from KOAT. I have two real quick from KOAT. The first one is just a quick, hey, public health order. Second one kind of goes in how churches handled it this weekend. And then I have a KRQE 13 one about how the churches handled it this weekend. So really quick with this one from Maggie Krajewski, I want to say. New Mexico has issued a new public health order which allows houses of worship to operate 100% capacity. According to the order, all houses of worship can operate at full capacity if they wish, regardless of color-coded risk levels in their county. This update comes as the U.S. Supreme Court rules that states cannot enforce capacity limits on churches that are more restrictive than other entities like factories or school. Still, the state is strongly encouraging these houses of worship to have capacity limits. However, it is no longer required. Of course they do. Of course the state is encouraging and strongly encouraging. My whole concept with this whole thing is, what happened to separation of church and state? What happened to belief? I mean, I don't know. Either way, let's go to this KRQE 13 one really quick because this one talks about how long the order. So Stephanie Chavez. For the first time in a year, house of worships are finally allowed to operate at 100% capacity. Churches spent Sunday morning celebrating the victory. Wasn't really a victory. I mean, I guess you can call it a victory. It's more like celebrating the, I don't even know how to explain it right now. Celebrating their freedom more than anything. That's what it should say, celebrating the freedom. But this is the first Sunday since the start of the pandemic that they've been able to welcome their entire congregation back in person. The change to the governor's public health order comes nearly 3 months after the Supreme Court ruled against California's limit on church capacity. The justice rules that if other places in the state can operate at 100% capacity, like schools, churches must have that option too. 3 months. Took them 3 months. So in other words, we should have been 3 months ago back in church 100%. But no, we're going to stretch it as long as we can. I'm pretty sure after somebody heard that in California, they've been fighting for 3 months. I'm not entirely sure who it was, but whoever you are, thank you for getting the governor to finally do what was supposed to be done 3 months ago when the Supreme Court ruled that you can't put restrictions on the church. Anyways, we have freedoms and rights, said Steve Smotherman, the pastor of Legacy Church. The Supreme Court is making that very clear, he said, regarding the rule. Smotherman's church saw nearly 100 worshipers at their 10:45 a.m. service. Calvary Church on Osuna had a packed parking lot for their 9 a.m. service, and Citizens Church near Eubank and Copper said they didn't know what to expect, but they prepared for anything. What we want to make sure we're still able to gather and grow in our faith. That's what's important to us, said Citizens Church Connections Pastor Chris Cunningham. Agreed. We just want to gather and praise our Lord in private. The revised public order does still strongly encourage reduced capacity levels as seen at St. Joseph's Church on Sunday. Archbishop John C. Wester has asked Catholic Church to abide by the state's red to turquoise framework, so Catholic Mass will not allow 100% attendance at this time. Yeah. This is a bootlicker. For someone who believes in God and has become an archbishop, he sure is scared of viruses. I'm sorry, but I believe in a higher power, and I'm not afraid of death, and I've come to terms that people are going to die, and one of those people may be someone in my family, but yet again, it happens. Just like people die from the flu, people die from pneumonia, people die from car accidents, people die from a lot of things. We have to move on, and we can't be scared, because being scared, being locked inside in the dark, or in your house and being lonely and all that is way worse for society than a 0.002% chance or 2% of the population may die from a virus. I'm not trying to be unsympathetic to those people who have conditions. I believe those people who have pre-existing conditions or may not be healthy should take their precautions, should get their vaccine, should wear their mask. But I also think they should stop being selfish and realize that there's a ton of people out there who don't need vaccines, who don't need to wear their mask, and we can be fine. So yes, protect yourself by all means, but at the same time, don't be forcing it on us. All right. So that's KRQE13. Let's go back to KOAT real quick and talk about theirs. So Shelly Leggett, place of worship, welcome back 100% capacity for first time in more than a year. Even though the state said churches could allow everyone back, the Archbishop of Santa Fe is asking priests to limit the crowd and stay with the color-coded risk level their county is in. But others are ready to welcome back their congregation. Like I said, the Archbishop is bending the knee, is kissing the governor's booty, and is playing politics. When, the Archbishop shouldn't be involved in politics at all, because we need to separate the church from the state. Anyways, so even though the state said churches could allow everyone back, the Archbishop of Santa Fe is asking priests to limit the crowd to stay with the color-coded risk level in their county. I don't like the way they write this. And stay with the color-coded risk level their county is in. Why can't you just put stay with the color-coded risk level county is in? I don't know. Their county, I don't know. I just can't read, I guess. But others are ready to welcome back their congregation. Sunday, April 25th, 2021 was the first day in more than a year that places of worships could invite back all of their congregation for in-person. I'm praying that all of the people that have been staying away will come back, said God's Church Bishop Michael L. Shelby. This is all because the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that states cannot enforce capacity limits on church that are more restrictive than other entities like factories or schools. And they shouldn't be able to place any restrictions on church because we are free will living Americans in a free society who have a right to make a decision if we want to go to our place of worship to worship. Separation of church and state, freedom. Let's see. Regardless of the color-coded risk level their county is in, places of worship can now welcome back 100% capacity if they want to. It makes me feel excited. I'm very excited, but also cautious, said Shelby. At God's House Church, they said they weren't even close to having full capacity Sunday service. We had low numbers already as it is, so hopefully little by little, hopefully people will start coming little by little now that the vaccine is out, said Tanya DeVargas, praise dance director. Do they edit? Do they read? Like, oh my gosh. I know I'm bad at reading sometimes, but you can't tell me that went past the editor. And they're like, oh yeah, that's exactly what if that's a direct quote, that's a stutter, but I don't know. It's just interesting. And it might take a while before they see that many people back inside. Yeah, we still have the virus. People are still afraid, and having been closed down so long, people are somewhat reluctant to come back to the house of God, said Shelby. New Mexico state leaders are strongly encouraging a house of worship to still have capacity limits, even though they are not required anymore. Parishioners are still required to follow COVID-safe practices like wearing masks and social distancing. You're allowed at 100% capacity, but yet you still have to social distance, which means you can't be at 100% capacity. Geniuses. There's science released by, I can't remember which university. Was it MIT, I think, where they talk about social distancing doesn't matter. So that's ridiculous. Wearing a mask, that should be optional. You're in a place of worship with God. Do you fear death? Do you believe in God? Do you believe in the afterlife? Sorry, you need to come to terms with this virus already. Come to terms. People are going to die. I know it might be someone that has a 0.002% chance of killing you. And if you have conditions, like I said, protect yourself. Do the things you need to do to protect yourself, but don't force it on others. And then for the rest of us, stop living in fear. Stop believing the fear mongering and stop listening to them on the mainstream media who constantly tell you stay inside and hide. It's just ridiculous. The fact of the matter is depression, anxiety, and all these other things leading to suicide is rising. Unemployments are still going up. The economy is still in a crash and no one's trying to fix it. It's ridiculous. Let's get back. Let's get over this. I mean, I already talked about it in one of my latter videos where it was Mike Rowe was explaining it's just something we have to come to terms with. Just like we had to come to terms with the flu. Just like we had to come to terms with all these other things. The virus, we just have to come to terms with. This is something we're going to be living with. We're glad vaccines are out, so if you need them, go get them. But I'm not saying everybody needs them and they should not be mandatory or forced on people. Other than that, worship. Go back to worshiping. Be free. Be free. Anyways, I really didn't have much to talk about. I mean, this is a pretty simple piece. We all know the churches really should have never really closed down full capacity. The mask, they're still trying to enforce social distancing and mask. I wouldn't be surprised with this new public health order if they're going to use it to try and sting operate churches because they're not social distancing. Because if this is something they're going to be trying to say is pernicious still required to social distance and stuff, I guarantee you they're going to try and do stuff to attack the churches again. So we'll see. Give us a week, give us 2 weeks. They're going to see what the news comes out with, what they have to say. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but we're probably going to hear a surge in the virus due to churches opening. Whatever. Anyways, that's all I got for you today. Like, comment, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. Blah, 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 blah. Anyways, I'm Nick Driver. I'm a New Mexican, and I care about you.